So I think this wine is so interesting because it's a Columbia Valley wine that is not from Washington. If you're familiar with Washington wine, you know that Columbia Valley is where many of the great wines of Washington come from. But what you may not know is that Columbia Valley also covers part of Oregon. So this wine is grown on the Oregon side. It comes from Loop de Loop, and it is their Bright Light Vineyard Cabernet Franc 2019. I think this wine is so cool. We are seeing some of the most delicious Cabernet Francs come out of the Columbia Gorge area, and this wine is a perfect example of it. Cabernet Franc can sometimes, when it's grown in France, be this sort of angular, vegetal, smoky type of wine that is really delicious, but doesn't always have that much fruit. And then sometimes if you grow Cabernet Franc somewhere really hot like Napa Valley or in Walla Walla, you know, you're gonna have a lot less of that savory quality and a lot more of that fruit, and that's fine too. But what's really cool is when you have a wine that has a fair amount of fruit and it's very velvety and rich, but it also has tons of savory quality too. And that's what I loved about this wine when I tasted it. This is made by Julia Gulstine. She is a winemaker doing really cool experimental stuff right on the Columbia Gorge. And this is Cabernet Franc that she actually harvests and presses and vinifies whole cluster. Whole cluster is something you hardly ever see used with Cabernet Franc because oftentimes it's too green. You'll see Pinot Noir and Syrah grown with whole cluster vinification, but not Cabernet Franc. When I taste this wine, you know, velvety fruit, lots of red plum and crushed red cherries and some of that black currant as well. So some sort of resinous, almost minty black fruit quality. And then you get hit with all the other stuff happening in this wine. There's like sandalwood and cedar and lots of really fun green notes like fresh cut green bell pepper and tarragon. But this wine has it all going on and I just love it. And the texture, rather than being the sort of sour, angular quality of French Cabernet Franc, which I love, don't get me wrong, but this texture is softer and it's more plush and it's more approachable. If you're not into Cabernet Franc already, this is a great one to start with, but also look at the wines from Savage Grace coming from the Columbia Gorge, and also look at Syncline and all the wines they're making in the Columbia Gorge. There's a lot of people making really cool stuff down there. It's one of the most exciting places in the world of wine right now, and I'm really excited to get acquainted with Loop de Loop Winery and the really cool things that they're doing. So hope you enjoy this wine and hope you pair it with something really fun like grilled chicken or a pork tenderloin. Cheers.